Good morning, one and all. As part of Community Health Nursing posting, we, second year BSc Nursing students of Manipal College of Nursing, presents before you a group health education video on the topic disease causing vectors and its prevention.
Vectors are the organisms that transmit pathogens and parasites from one infected person to another, causing serious diseases in human populations. Or, in other words, they can transmit infectious pathogens between humans or from animals to humans. Many of these vectors are blood sucking insects which ingest disease producing microorganisms during a blood meal from an infected host and later transmit it into a new host after the pathogen has replicated. Often, once a vector becomes infectious, they are capable of transmitting the pathogen from the rest of their life during each subsequent bite or blood meal.
Next, we will be seeing some vectors and the diseases caused by them. The most common vectors known are the mosquitoes. They are of three types: the Aedes, the Anopheles, and the Culex mosquitoes. The Aedes mosquitoes are the vectors of chikungunya, dengue, Rift Valley fever, yellow fever, and the Zika virus. The Anopheles mosquitoes are the carriers of lymphatic filariasis and malaria. The Culex mosquitoes carry around the Japanese encephalitis and West Nile fever. Next, we see the fleas that are the vectors of plague, which is transmitted from rats to humans, and the tunchiasis. Black flies are the carriers of the disease liver blindness. Next is the lice that are the vectors of typhus and louse-borne relapsing fever. Sandflies are the vectors of leishmaniasis and also the sandfly fever known as phlebotomous fever. Ticks are the carriers of Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, Lyme disease, tick-borne encephalitis, and also the leuemia. Tsetse flies are the vectors of the deadly disease known as sleeping sickness that is also called African trypanosomiasis. The triatom bugs are the vectors of Chagas disease, otherwise called American trypanosomiasis. Lastly, aquatic snails are the organisms that act as vector for the disease schistosomiasis.
Now let's see some of the environmental factors that influence vector growth in the community. First is deforestation. It creates ecological niches favorable for vector proliferation. Like water puddles in deforested land have lower acidity and salinity, favorable for breeding of certain species of Anopheles, and increased malaria transmission in deforested area due to altered biting habits of Anopheles mosquitoes. Second, agriculture and animal husbandry. Some wild and domestic animals such as cattle, pigs, dogs, raccoons, and rodents carry the bacteria and pass them in the urine. People become ill following direct contact with urine or tissues of infected animal or exposure to contaminated soil, food, or water. Changes in land cover also affects microclimate. For example, replacement of swamp vegetation by agricultural land causes rise in temperature, leading to increased risk of malaria. Third, water control projects. Water control projects like dams and canals increase breeding site for mosquitoes and hence increases the vector-borne diseases. Fourth, urbanization. Urbanization directly affects by conversion of natural habitat into human settlement. It indirectly affects by waste generation by human activities, also inadequate clearance of standing water and collection of water in used containers and tires, etc., which facilitates the growth of vectors like mosquitoes. Fifth, loss of biodiversity. For example, the stratosphere ozone depletion, pollution, and introduction of invasive species and global warming. 6. Climatic factors affecting vector-borne disease. First is temperature. As the temperature increases, the vector growth also increases. The second one is humidity or moisture. As the humidity in the environment increases, which favors the growth of the microorganisms. And third is rainfall. Increases breeding sites of vector, so it is a favorable factor for vector growth.
The prevention of disease-causing vectors can be done by following measures. So first one is the vector control. It includes chemical control and biological control. Chemical control is the use of indoor residual spray with insecticides recommended under the program and the use of chemical larvicides like airbait in potable water, aerosol spray during daytime. Then biological control, it includes the use of larvivorous fish in ornamental tanks, fountains, etc. Personal prophylactic measures that individuals or communities can take up. Use of mosquito repellent creams, liquids, coils and mats. Screening of the houses with wire mesh. And use of bed nets treated with insecticides. Wearing clothes that can cover maximum surface area of the body. Then second one is environmental management and source reduction methods. It includes filling of the breeding places, proper covering of stored water, channelization of breeding source, avoiding accumulation of stagnant water in the surroundings, removal of leaf litters and wood piles from the surroundings. The third one is community participation. It includes sensitizing and involving the community for detection of Anopheles breeding places and their elimination. NGO schemes involving them in program strategies. Then fourth one is monitoring and evaluation of the program. It includes monthly computerized management information system, field visits by state national program officers, field visits by malaria research centers and other ICMR institutes, feedback to states on field observations for correction actions.
As a conclusion, vector control remains a viable approach to the management of many diseases in the tropics and subtropics. The careful consideration, selection, and adoption of locally relevant tactic is imperative. This will ultimately enhance disease management in the tropical regions of the world. So now we all know about how the vector grows and how it can be prevented. So it is our responsibility to make sure that the vector prevention is successful. Thank you and have a nice day.